Business is about relationship. Business is about human to human connection. And you know what? Even God will strategically change your plans for you to run into people or have conversations that give you those God bumps, I like to call it, or goosebumps when I was growing up. That you just know God is working through you in connection with the people around you. When you turn that ladder into a bridge, you get to really follow your heart's path because it becomes less individual goal and it becomes more of this God opportunity to just grow and expand all for his glory. What you're building isn't just a brand, it's the work and story God trusted you to carry. Welcome to Heard in Heaven. I'm Rae Irelan, best-selling author, global speaker, and co-founder of Evolve Podcasting, where our clients have reached over 3 million downloads. This show is where Holy Spirit revelation meets CEO execution, so your message doesn't just inspire, it multiplies. It's time to speak with fire, shake the earth, and be heard in heaven. Today, we are talking about whether it's too late to actually build your personal brand and a personal brand that truly matters. So that way you can take confident steps moving forward to establish that brand authority, that presence, and that impact in the world. And this is regardless of where you're starting from. So I want to share with you today about my journey when I first launched going into entrepreneurship. There were a few different pressures and reasons why it made sense to really step out in faith and be an entrepreneur. There were financial pressures, there was a desire to do more. I didn't want to waste my time here on the planet in my life, and I really wanted to put it towards something amazing. But during that entrepreneurial journey, it really started to shift into being like, how can I make money? And making money is an amazing tool. It's something that I will be talking a lot about on this show because it's really important that if you want to make a big impact, that you do have money and resources and energy to fuel that mission. But at the beginning of that journey for me, I did find myself getting too hyper focused on that. And I actually forgot that in being an entrepreneur, what I was really doing was just answering a calling of God. And really, that calling was leadership. And I have circled back to it many times. And every time I actually circle back to that calling that God has put on my heart to be a leader in my space, it's really interesting that every time that happens, I feel more aligned, more energized, and I see better results in my company and in my business than when I am just focusing on the dollar amounts. There was this shift that I experienced, and it happened when I was just fed up with building a business. I don't really want to be a businesswoman. I didn't feel like I got that call. The main thing I had a call with was to help people and to serve people and to work with people and to continue to grow myself, be a forever student, and, pass down the language, the wisdom, the stories that I had learned and walked through. I see this metaphor, and I think a lot of times it's like building a ladder, right? Like walking up the corporate ladder. And in business, it can feel sometimes like you're just constantly going up a ladder, you're just trying to get better and you're trying to make more money. And again, all of these are amazing things, especially for high achieving women that want to do everything with a level of excellence and honor God and glorify God through our work and through the things we put our hands and our minds and our hearts into action with. And this ladder, though, can get a little bit costly. We don't want to just really always be imagining that there's something else that we need to achieve or accomplish and never feel like we have actually landed. Now, God has some incredible promises for us, and there's promises of peace in our hearts and our souls. And so there's a really beautiful balance and attraction that happens when you actually just settle a bit and you find peace inside of whatever stage you're actually in business. So instead of just always trying to go to the next thing, actually being really aware of where you're at on that ladder. So sometimes I also like to think of the ladder being ways that we can reach new heights, right? So with the different rungs of the ladder, you might be building new platforms or different types of platforms for you to be able to speak about your leadership. In my entrepreneurial journey, it was like I had the idea and I just started to talk about it, right? So I would tell family, friends, like that was my first platform. But then as I took another reached up and grabbed the next part of the ladder, then it was like, okay, actually now I need to start my social media. And so then you get started with that and you start building your social media and doing posts and you go through the awkward phase of what am I even doing? This is so weird and fake. And then you realize, wow, there's cool connections I'm making. Oh my goodness, I'm finding clients, all that type of stuff. Then you might realize, wait, I actually want to connect more with people in person. So you start getting out into networking events and you start going out and meeting people. And so that again, that's another step in that ladder, right? So play with me for a moment. Pretend there's different platforms for the different levels that you're wanting to show up in your leadership. So then maybe at a certain point, you're like, I want to write a book. I want to have a podcast. I want to start speaking on stages. I actually want to build my own stage. I want to have an event, right? So there's all these incredible opportunities where we get to reach to new heights and somehow figure out the strength and really also pray that God fills us with the strength to get us to that next level. So I was doing that. I've built that, right? I've had the best selling book. I've had the amazing podcast and the great reviews, and I've hosted my own events, all of these things. And still, at a certain point, I remember feeling, okay, I feel like I've actually built a lot of other things, or I've put offers out there, or I've put events out there, but they've been on their own. And I hadn't quite put it all together under my own personal brand. Now, people from the outside might say that sounds a little silly because you always did have a personal brand, or this might be you and you might have be thinking, oh, I had this company and I've had these products and then I did a little bit of this and you bounced around. You do have a personal brand, yes, but have you totally put the flag in the ground saying this is my personal brand? I have a personal brand and I am a personal brand. I see that there's usually a little bit of a gap there, and most people are not actually claiming that they have a personal brand, which means there's usually a sort of scattered like way of seeing everything that they've done. Sometimes it's a little confusing. Maybe some people might be changing what they're doing, changing their offers so often where it's a little bit hard to grasp. And when you do not claim that you have a personal brand, people are going to have less trust in your ability to deliver because it's going to feel like they're always going around, they're bouncing around. And the unfortunate part of that is years down the line, after ping ponging around, you might be actually feeling like a failure. I've seen this and I've talked to many women about this and how it can get a little frustrating if you feel like you thought you were going to take one thing all the way to the 7, 8 figure mark and it went a quarter of the way there. And then you just moved on to the next thing. And then you did that. And after a time, if you feel like you've been bouncing around so much, it might be feeling like, wait, where is my unique voice? Where is that true calling that was placed into my heart so long ago? Like, you might start feeling like you're missing some opportunities to truly impact lives and really deeply fulfill your divine purpose on the planet. So, I want to give this shift, this mindset shift that really changed everything for me. Because if you don't step into your calling now and just claim your personal brand, everything that you're creating and building, even if you have a business and a whole other brand, people still want you. People want people. They want to know who is behind it. And I just don't want you to risk losing any deeper connections to your own identity or even God because when we are in our creator selves, we're actually being able to get closer to God and feel what it's like for Him to be the most ultimate creator of the entire universe. So, this is a chance, this is an opportunity, this little mindset shift that I'm going to share to really change how you inspire others and really lean in with your story and pave that way for the future female leaders and change makers that are watching you and they have been watching you for many years. So here's the shift. It's shifting from going from a ladder and working your way up. And like I said, you might be like feeling like you're stuck on the ladder. You might feel like you're over trying to climb this quote unquote corporate ladder, that type of thing. Or you might be like, okay, no, like I love this ladder. These platforms are so cool. But at a certain point, do you want something deeper? I bet you do. If you're listening to the podcast, actually know you do because you really want to feel God's touch on everything. So here's what you get to do. You turn that vertical ladder sideways and you make it into a bridge. Business is about relationship. Business is about human to human connection. And you know what? Even God will strategically change your life or change your plans for you to run into people or have conversations that give you those things, those God bumps, I like to call it, or goosebumps when I was growing up. But God bumps that you just know God is working through you in connection with the people around you. So when you turn that ladder into a bridge, you get to really follow your heart's path and your heart's plan because it becomes so less of this individual goal of you climbing a ladder and building your platform. And it becomes more of this God opportunity to just connect and grow and expand all for his glory, but with the people around you. It's not about reaching success on our own. We all know this by now, right? We've seen the generations and the people that have gone before us that have just gone for that individualized success, and we've seen them not happy. That is not the success that we're looking for here. But when we're talking about business, like, how do we not throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? It's about still climbing, still pushing forward, still trying new things, but doing it in that more horizontal way where it's actually about connecting hearts. So, here's what I want to invite you guys into for today in this conversation. And you might be someone who's like, I don't know if I have a personal brand. Like I have done a lot of things, I've shared a lot of stuff. This is your opportunity to really anchor it in. So, here's the steps that you can take to really solidify this for yourself. So, step number one, assess your current ventures. So, you might have one business, but you also might have a few. Most people I know these days have a few different things going on. Oftentimes, it's the one money maker and then the other like passion projects, right? But assess all the ventures that you have going on and just analyze the aspects that align with your true calling and which are merely stepping stones. You don't have to change anything. Just start from that space of taking an assessment and really just noticing, right? Start separating them. What are the actions that I do, or what are the parts of the ventures that are really my true calling that God has placed in my heart? You just know that you are here in this, on this earth, in this time for this purpose. And then there's the stepping stone ones. That doesn't mean we got to throw them out. They are really important too, but it's helpful to know so we don't get too caught into putting all of our attention into those stepping stones. Just a stepping stone might be making more money or having a new platform. You also want to reflect on your past experiences. Identify those moments when you felt most connected to your purpose and leadership. Those yes moments are so important. And that's what we want more of in life, right? We want to experience more of the yes, okay, I'm finding my way. And often when I am really in a groove of following my yes, there's such momentum that gets to be carried with it. And it really just becomes such a joyful growth experience. Now, I'm all for the learning lessons, and you'll be hearing plenty of my learning lessons in this show. I've gone through them, which has helped me become the person I am. But I share and I have this podcast in hopes that you don't have to go through those same lessons and that you get to live more of a life and more of a business of yeses moving forward. These are your own yeses. These are yeses from clients and leads and opportunities. That is just such a divine path to be leading down. And you can really feel God's confirmation in that. And the next thing I'll have you do is determine those core values. List those fundamental beliefs that really guide your decisions and look at how they connect faith and leadership within your business. These core values are really going to be those guide points, right? You'll be able to know if you're going to be falling off track as soon as you are not really living within those guardrails, or I actually like to call them God rails. Sammy and I started doing that because we're two very adventurous, free souls. And sometimes boundaries and things like that, it can be, those are tougher things for us. And so we're like, no, let's not call them guardrails. Let's call them God rails. Like God is just helping us move towards our best, yes, life, right? So those core values are going to help determine that and also help make decisions. So many entrepreneurs deal with decision fatigue. There's so many decisions to make throughout the day. What breakfast am I going to have? What am I going to wear? What am I going to do with my time? What part of my business should I focus on? Which business should I focus on? What thing do I drive forward? And what thing do I just let go of? We are bombarded by choices all the time, not even to mention social media and everything else that comes online, right? But the more that you can make quick, fast, speedy decisions that are actually aligned with your core values, the more you're going to see yourself getting into action. And God blesses action. Figure out what those core values are and then identify your unique voice. Understand that every message, every messenger, and every message out there has a unique angle. And if you can bring that into your entrepreneurship and your leadership and align it with that calling that God is moving you forward into, things that you haven't even seen yet manifest, things that you haven't seen come to life and fruition, that is going to be your unique angle for your personal brand. And it's so amazing. It's like a snowflake. There's not two of the same out there. And this is how you get to really carve out your own blue ocean space. Even if you're in a large industry like real estate or finance or coaching, there's always going to be this unique corner that is just for you. God has designed it for you. And there's opportunities and surprises like you would never even imagine that are just for you once you step into that corner. It's just sitting there for you, right? No one else can step in. It's all yours. So then from that place, can start to implement gradual changes. Now, this is where we get a little strategic in the plan, right? You can start to pivot slightly more towards your calling and really start walking away from the things that the world tells you need to have and you need to do. As you pivot deeper and closer towards your calling, you can start to see what action steps are going to really integrate faith and leadership and your calling into not only your business, but your everyday life. So, let me give you an example of that. When I started to shift thinking about business and shifting it from being a ladder into a bridge, I started realizing how important relationships were. And I started wanting to connect with more people. Now, what happens when we connect with more people? Sales. Isn't it amazing? And a lot of times I would have sales coaches tell me, give me this huge, not a huge, but like a list of things that I should be doing, right? What should I be doing every day? Reach outs, posting, getting into other groups. Like it's business basics, business 101. And I would find my energy when I was on the ladder. I would just feel like not as excited to do sales because I was just focusing so much on myself and where I was growing that actually taking time to connect, it either felt inauthentic, I felt sleazy, it felt weird, or I just felt I should be building, I should be doing something else. And as soon as I actually shifted that ladder into being a bridge and realized, wow, like one of the things that God has called me forward into being is a connector. I love talking to people. I love having a cup of tea with someone and getting to hear their story and understanding how God has blessed them through the journey that they've been on. It's my most favorite thing to do. And as soon as I realized that and I turned that ladder into a bridge, I realized, wow, like I just get to connect with people. All of a sudden, that time where I was like, I should be working on my sales and my business, I realized, oh my gosh, this is my favorite part of business is reaching out and connecting to people and getting to hear about their dreams and their visions and like teaming up with them, getting on their side and looking at everything that they, had laid out on the table and how things could grow and how it could get better. And that's all sales is saying, I see this problem and I see what it could be. I see a bigger vision with you. And I actually have something to help you grow that or build that. And so this is truly for any type of industry. And all of a sudden, sales just became my favorite thing. And then, of course, what happens? You get blessed financially, right? All of those things that I was searching for and wanting and working so hard at, working the ladder, all of a sudden became the easiest thing because I realized I was operating from my calling and from my God gift space. So, as you go through figuring out your current ventures, taking a look at them, reflecting on your past experiences, determining those core values, really identifying what is your unique voice, and then just start to implement those gradual changes. You're going to start having so much more fun, and things are going to really, I don't want to say become easy, but they do become easier because you're working with your strengths, not against them. You're working in partnership with God, not against them. Now, disclaimer, because sometimes when you are working along with God in this way, there are going to be challenges that come up or things that you face, your own Goliaths even, they'll come up. And they're always, when you're on this path and you know you're doing the thing that you're meant to be doing, when those challenges come up, you just know that those are the growth opportunity that God is giving you to become the next bigger version of yourself. I just went through a very tough season of breaking my leg. And of course, that affected business. I was on a couch for 3 months, right? Not able to go to events and speak and do all the things that I love doing, right? But the coolest thing is, since I know what I'm here to do, I already know the calling, I'm operating in it. I knew that whole time that this is just a new Goliath that God's giving me to become so much stronger, so much more radiant, so much more connecting, so much more authentic with those that I want to connect with. So you can go through really hard times. And people ask me all the time, how did you get through that? Like, you have a 2.5-year-old, a new marriage, like your businesses, this is crazy. But that's the opportunity there. So today, here's what I want you to do. Choose one small action to express your unique voice, whether it's a social media post or a conversation or even just a journal entry. I just want you to affirm your commitment to the calling that God has placed on your life, and just feel the power of really taking that step, taking that ownership, and maybe even putting the flag in the sand or, in the ground and saying, this is my personal brand. This is what I'm here to share the world. No matter what I'm offering, no matter what business or venture I have going on, this is how I'm going to show up. Most people do get stuck right after discovering their calling because they forget the importance of, really being resourced and rested and ready to go charge ahead. You might feel so inspired after this and be like, I know what it is. Okay, I'm going, I'm planting it. And then it's, but where do I get that extra energy from? Where do I get that time, that space to do what might feel like extra right now just because it's not in the practice? So that's what we're going to be tackling on the next episode. Tune in, and I cannot wait to hear more about how everything is going. Keep me in the loop. Let me know. Send me a message on Instagram, and I cannot wait to continue this conversation with you. Your voice carries weight, not just for today, but for eternity. If this episode stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, speak it, let it ripple. If you're ready to launch a platform that amplifies your message and multiplies your impact, I'm here to help. Start your journey with the link in the show notes down below. Subscribe, leave a review, and remember, when you speak with fire, you don't just shake the earth, you echo in heaven.